we go.
Talk Radio 790 KABC. You're listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. I'm Karl Gerber, and I'm a real workplace lawyer. So after Cindy D did so much to help locate the soldier's genital and was held hostage by the evil Myron Alfumbra, pronounced Matting but spelled Eminem, in what we thought was the same place as the Iraqi missiles the U.S. never found, but it turned out he was merely carrying it around in a brown paper bag. I feel I owe it to Cindy D to discuss her latest employment problem.
Thank you for having me on tonight.
Me? What do I have to do with that?
You invited me here.
I did?
You said there was a bonus slot to fill and you didn't have a guest.
I did?
I thought it was you.
No, it must have been someone else.
Should I go?
Go where? To the Robert Durst trial?
Who's he?
All I know is he killed a whole bunch of people, and it's taken him close to 40 years to get him.
Mr. Gerber, I might be a millennial, but I'd never call an old person an elderly person. One of those people who used to fight over in Vietnam. I'd never call them an okay boomer.
Well, that's good to hear.
You met Delicious Divine last week, right?
My word, I had no idea that woman was so spirited.
First underground operators tried it on her. She wanted to come back to her. She's still got it. Does she ever? But she wanted to come back to her, and they gave it to her.
You know, I heard some utterly bizarre thing on episode 97 on the Karl Gerber with the K channel on YouTube about how Delicious Divine was doing a chamber show on a cruise ship where they had landlines on every table, just like they have at the fancy restaurants like the Sizzler and a Pol Loco. I mean, personally, I've never seen that. Anyway, she was doing English-speaking landline phone sex calls from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. in the chamber room of the ship, and then the captain and the whole crew thought she was a sex robot. You know, the one being accused of starting the coronavirus, doing that obscene thing with the bonbons over at Mobility Estates Corona. We covered that on episode 94. Anyway, they quarantined her.
I really feel for that woman. I really do.
Well, so you've forgiven her for selling out your rerun phone sex call description so Remus Helms could build that not very accurate Cindy D sex robot that had to be recalled because men were getting stuck.
You have to take people for their whole. That was one isolated incident in 5 years of employment and friendship.
Well, I'm glad you don't harbor any hard feelings, even though she also fired you because you had to miss time to place your daughter, Vargine, in that unusual school. I think it was the university for the highly gifted. She got footnote episode 21.
Let bygones be bygones.
Well, yeah, that's actually how I sort of feel about all the weird guests. Remus Helms has referred me to this show. You've just got to get past things like that.
Hey, how come you gave Delicious Divine that real catchy song about telephone love? Yeah, that's it. You aren't going to replace me with her, are you?
Of course not. You've got your own song, you know, it's pretty catchy.
I just don't like the way she's here once, and you gave her a song of her own.
You know, there's a question about Delicious Divine I really have to ask. This is, awkward. I, don't want it to be interpreted wrong.
She didn't really start the coronavirus.
Well, I know that. What I want to know, I only saw her once. Is she black or is she white?
That's a good question.
She definitely sounds black. She identifies as being black, but I swore she was supposed to be a white woman. At least on the thumbnail on the YouTube on, the Karl Gerber with the K channel on YouTube.
I guess YouTube is becoming the mainstream media. They just want everybody to think she's white because it's, the mainstream media.
Well, you've known her for a long time. I mean, she's your supervisor at Underground Operators. This isn't a situation where she looks remotely black, so she's white, or is she black?
Like I said, that's a good question.
Well, do you know the answer?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Maybe this is one of those cases where it doesn't really matter what race she is. There's some people like me and Cindy D who don't care what race somebody is.
Yeah, that's it. That must be it.
But we've both seen her, and I thought she was white.
I am not sure.
Well, she's also supposed to be 60, and she's not.
Yeah, I think she's closer to your age.
How can her age and race be so mysterious?
It's just that sometimes I look at her and she's black, but then other times I look at her and she's plainly white.
I didn't really want to say anything when she was on the show last week, but I felt the same way.
Yeah, it's like she changes races sometimes.
But she clearly identifies with being black.
Have you met her brother?
I don't think so. I'd sure like to. I don't know why everyone calls him the jerk.
I heard he made most of the country cross-eyed. Most of the country who wore glasses. That's why they call him the jerk.
I remember something about that before you were born, maybe 1979.
That's what Delicious Divine says. It was about 1979. She was still in school. But her parents invested his money before the class action, and that white boy came back to live with his all-black family.
It's a very strange story.
Like I was saying, they started by sending Delicious Divine onto that Prince Albert cruise ship. I didn't have to do it, but I figured, why not? I'd get to see a lot of places.
Well, like Corona, California and Sun Valley, California?
I've already spent so much time there. I got an offer to do a cruise, but I didn't get to see that much.
Don't tell me you got quarantined.
Nobody thinks the Cindy D sex robot started any viruses.
Well, seriously, was this a Disney cruise? Maybe you brought your 8-year-old on or something for just you and Cemex to rekindle those moments, whatever they are, when the guy is a masonry master and the woman is the most famous English-speaking phone sex operator in the world.
Vargine is a genius. She wouldn't be caught dead on a Disney cruise.
Me either.
It was an interesting idea, at least. They finally got a lot of millennials to leave their house.
Oh, so the one reason why maybe we get along is even though you're 30 and seem to get get about and live a slightly less reclusive craft beer lifestyle.
I guess I am just an old girl. That's what the landline phone sex business does to you.
I wouldn't know.
Yes, you do. Anyway, it was just a 3-day cruise.
I can just picture myself. I never can picture myself on anyone else's boat. And furthermore, I couldn't leave the office for 3 whole days in a row. I'd come back and everyone would have quit. I'm the one answering those 50 new client calls a day when people call in at 877-525-0700 looking for an employee lawyer. 877-525-0700 because they want to sue their employer for ruining their lives. 877-525-0700 because they weren't paid right.
It must really frustrate you that more of the people calling in to see if they have a case don't ring-a-ding on the landlines.
It's pretty hard to hear a lot of these people on their cell phones. The number who call in while going through drive-thrus never ceases to amaze me.
I feel the same way. A cell phone is no way to have phone sex.
You're listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show, and we've got Cindy D on. She's the most famous English-speaking landline phone sex operator in the world, and we all know they made a sex robot about her that got recalled because men were getting stuck. But, I really am a real workplace lawyer, and I do hope you call me at 877-525-0700 if you blew the whistle on your employer because they were putting a dangerous and unsafe product on the market. 877-525-0700 if you want to bring a class action against an employer for not paying you. 877-525-0700 during normal business hours if you want to bring a lawsuit for sexual harassment because your boss gave you sex toys for Christmas. I actually had that case once. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We'll be back in just a minute to talk more to Cindy D, the most famous English-speaking phone sex operator in the world.
Telephone operator, you're my hour simulator.
Hi-ho, it's home from work we go.
Talk Radio 790 KABC. You're listening to Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. I'm Karl Gerber. I'm a real workplace lawyer, and I've got Cindy D in studio, the most famous English-speaking landline phone sex operator in the world, telling me, she was on some kind of a cruise. So, Cindy, what happened with your cruise? Was it relaxing?
Absolutely not.
That's too bad. I guess that could happen if you're trapped on the wrong ship.
You said it. I never should have gone and got all utitherized up.
Don't tell me you got utitherized.
I sure did.
Well, that tends to happen when you're with a lot of millennials.
It was half millennials and half baby boomers.
On your cruise?
Yeah. The millennials took all the interior staterooms. The cruise company filled those up with all these selfie props to make it look like the millennials were looking onto the sea, islands. They were swimming with dolphins. You've seen it. The millennials put on bathing suits and stood by the background with the dolphins.
Yeah, that's pretty common from what I see.
The baby boomers got all the rooms with the balconies and views. The cruise sponsor didn't think the two groups would intermingle much.
Yeah, but both of those demographics are a bunch of potheads.
I know, that was the problem. The dispensary on the ship ran out. The millennials had an app to get their orders in before the baby boomers came in during the morning. Maybe if they ate their granola faster.
Oh, that's sad. All those baby boomers with bad backs. And what did they do? How did they get by without weed? That's terrible, being stranded in the middle of the ocean like that without a pound of marijuana to stink up the neighborhood every day.
It wasn't a pretty scene.
Were you alone?
Yeah, I was the only one from underground operators. I think that was one of the main reasons the ship filled up.
You were there to do phone sex calls?
I also did the red carpet and everything.
Well, I hope you weren't doing a chamber show.
Me? A chamber show? No, that's more of a delicious divines area.
I think the listeners would like more specifics on how the whole landline phone sex scene plays out on a cruise ship these days.
Well, most ships provide the service. A lot of times it's too hard or too expensive to make a call to land, or the local phone sex is done in another language. The good ships usually have an in-house landline phone sex operator.
I find this really strange.
Don't you know why people go on cruises?
Binge eating at the buffets, the crafts.
Oh, it's the Love Boat.
I see. Until they've met that special or not very special someone all alone at sea, a nice landline phone sex call is always comforting.
That's what they say.
Oh, but then again, I thought things have moved away from that technology.
Not for the baby boomers. They're so much more discreet.
Well, I think they have to be. How many people in their late 50s to almost 80 want to be seen on a webcam?
They're a much classier generation.
Well, you're not making my Gen X or Gen Y listeners feel good.
Oh, feel good? Give me a call at Underground Operators in a few hours.
Yeah, I've got stuff to do later tonight, like check and see how the live stream of this show is doing on the Karl Gerber with a K channel on YouTube.
Okay, here's how it worked. They had me in the employee lounge taking calls from 7 a.m. to about 5 p.m. I didn't get overtime.
No, this may have constituted a sexually hostile work environment for the cruise ship employees in the employee lounge.
I know, it was a weird place to put me.
I'm gonna have to research the law on how I can sue for sexual harassment if this ship was more than 3 miles from the shore.
It wasn't always.
Yeah, I'll probably be getting a lot of new client calls from the cruise ship staff who heard these calls.
Oh, I don't think so. They weren't offended.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. The problem for the cruise company was the employees were taking extra long lunches and too many breaks.
Oh, they had to find somewhere to get away from hearing your phone sex calls.
No. To the contrary, there wasn't even standing room in there.
Then how are they all crowding in?
They were all on top of each other.
Were you in the middle of this?
They had me on a chair on the table. There were employees laying underneath the chair, under the table, on top of each other. You get the point.
Well, this sounds like an unsafe and unhealthful work environment. I could use PAGA to get OSHA violations and go in being the private attorney general.
I don't think anybody minded, except the captain and some of the managers. And guests, too. It was a bad scene. The baby boomers couldn't get their weed from the dispensary, and the millennials couldn't figure out how to use the landline, and all the staff was cramped up in the employee lounge listening to me.
The millennials were doing phone sex calls, too?
Oh, yeah. They sold the cruise as having some in-room retro experience like landline phone sex calls, room service, and video games that worked on TVs.
To the baby boomers?
No, they told them the ship would only be half full because the millennials would stay in their rooms on their electronics.
But, the millennials tried to use a landline?
Tried is a good word.
Well, that's amazing. People in their late 20s, even 30s, don't know how to use a landline? Gosh, if Pete Buttigieg got elected, he'd have to talk to foreign powers on his cell phone while watching cartoons.
Huh. I thought Twitter was the official form of communication for the White House.
Nah, I'm pretty sure it's just for that guy, Myron Alfumbra, pronounced Matting, but spelled M&M, does the 3-trim plug-on.
You should have seen these millennials try to make landline phone sex calls.
You know, it'd be funny if we could see a transcript of just how inept they were with their whole dialogue.
That too. But one guy got caught in the phone cord. They almost had to amputate his thing.
How does something like that get caught in a phone cord?
He thought he was supposed to use the cord on his thing.
Were you being Mr. Luboff?
I was.
Well, did everything work out okay?
Oh, yeah, he got through the call and ran up a $160 bill. It took me 10 minutes to explain to him what to do with the landline cord.
That must have bored all the employees, overextending themselves in the employee lounge.
That's not all Mistress Lubov told him to do with the phone cord.
I just didn't know there was a demand for a thing like this.
That was the problem. I was working 20 hours a day.
Well, I hope you got well compensated for this.
That's the problem. The place sponsoring this cruise was so cheap, they never paid underground operators.
Well, if California law applied, that wouldn't be a reason for your employer not paying you.
Have you heard of cheapvacationrentals.com?
Have I ever? The founder is Drexel Cunningham, and he was on episode 94 of this show. Listen on the Karl Gerber with the K channel. Besides, everyone knows the coronavirus started in Corona, California, when one of his cheap vacation rentals in a mobile home in Corona, California had the delicious divine sex robot. Well, Drexel Cunningham was trying to use her, not for those sex things, but for an improper purpose. He was trying to get her to clean the mobile home, and she made more of a mess doing those obscene things with the bonbons on the couch.
You've met Drexel Cunningham? He's the cheapest bastard I've ever met.
Well, that really must mean something, being that you've serviced over 1 billion landline phone sex calls.
The only reason I agreed was when we were in grade school, he used to call me at home. That's why.
You know, your mother mentioned something about being, him being on the landline when Reverb mysteriously appeared in your mother, Dr. D's bedroom.
Drexel decided the ship would stop next to one of those oil platforms around Torrance because the millennials weren't coming out of their rooms and the baby boomers were having their own retro experience with lysergic acid diethylamide on account of all the marijuana going to the millennials on their auto apps.
You know, this sounds like a dreadful cruise ship experience. So, if your employer fired you and didn't pay your vacation pay, I might be able to help you if you call me at 877-525-0700 during normal business hours. Keep in mind, PTO is lose it, use it, use it, or lose it. I can be reached at 877-525-0700 if you're still a telephone operator and you're being fired and you don't know where to go because they think you're too old. I can be reached at 877-525-0700. 877-525-0700 if you need to sue your employer for unpaid wages. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KABC. And I'm just waiting to hear that song again. We'll be back in a minute.
Telephone operator, you're my hour simulator.
Hi-ho, it's home from work we go.
Yes, it is off to work we go here. It is Talk Radio 790 KABC. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. I'm Karl Gerber. I'm a real workplace lawyer, and I have a real phone sex operator in the studio with me.
Hi.
Well, you have something to say, Cindy D?
Well, I was talking about this horrible experience on the cruise ship that I had. Mr. Gerber, I don't know if I'll be able to go on another boat again. I know you want me to do the phone sex marathon from the Oxnard Harbor on your boat, so lots of grassroots money can be raised from the Ventura County grass fiends, but I don't know if I can ever look at the ocean again.
Oh, PTSD from this horrible experience. We definitely have to figure out if we can sue. Well, we can if you're, that close to Torrance.
We did go more than 3 miles from the coast whenever one of the employees had to clock more than 8 hours. But we always came back when a shift ended.
You should just thank your lucky stars nobody got quarantined through the coronavirus.
They should have quarantined somebody once the dysentery outbreak happened. Yeah, it's true I've done over 1 billion calls, but I've never been forced to take hundreds of calls a day when most of the callers are calling from the toilet.
I'd think some people, maybe married people or millennials living at home who want to have the retro experience would take the phone sex calls from the laboratory.
True, but they aren't having the worst case of the runs in the last 100 years.
That's gross.
All hell broke loose when the millennials had to leave their rooms.
Yeah, how could they deal with all that sunlight? The strong UV rays out in the middle of the ocean.
There was mayhem. They looked like a bunch of lobsters with designer t-shirts over their eyes. But that wasn't all.
Yikes!
Yeah, all of them charging their phones fried the electricity for the whole ship. The only thing still working was the low voltage.
They had low voltage lights?
No, the landline still worked.
So you weren't out of business.
It got really embarrassing.
Well, how can it be any more embarrassing than doing a landline phone sex routine in front of pretty much every employee in the ship?
Yeah, that must have been embarrassing for the passengers because the crew knew who I was talking to.
This is dreadful.
When the electricity went out, the millennials had to leave their rooms. A lot of the baby boomers decided it wasn't safe for them either because the elevators didn't work.
Well, if you were so close to shore, why didn't you just come back?
This was a cheapvacationrentals.com cruise, and Drexel Cunningham didn't want to issue any refunds.
How long did this go on?
Days.
Were they serving food?
Nobody really wanted to test their luck with the whole dysentery outbreak.
What did you do?
Well, everybody needed somewhere to sleep, somewhere to go. The biggest area was in back of the ship on the poop deck.
There was a designated place for doing that?
Mr. Gerber, you're a man of the sea. You know what a poop deck is.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this more interesting. It's just dry content.
They were all out by the big pool. They have a track out there, too.
How many people evacuated their rooms?
First, the millennials. The baby boomers concerned about the elevators. But then a lot of the baby boomers realized the millennials really needed help. They'd never been outside before. They didn't know how to do anything.
Did the millennials at least share their pot supply?
That might be part of the reason why the baby boomers got so helpful.
What happened?
Some of the baby boomers knew how to sew. Some of them made quilts when they were in prison for making political stands in the 60s or 70s. You know how that was? I didn't until then. They said they quilted freedom quilts and stuff like that.
Well, so what did they sew out on the poop deck?
They made tents for the millennials, sewed them up with hemp.
Well, I'm glad to hear everyone came together.
Not that. They did their calls separately.
No, that wasn't what I meant.
Maybe the millennials had a better time than I thought. They considered this an experience. You know how we're always trying to have experiences.
Oh, yeah, it must have been an experience to be outside, interact with people their grandparents' age.
I'm glad they got the tents because they were able to get landlines in there.
At a time like this, landline phone sex is all they had to think about?
Oh, the millennials ran out of charge. A lot of them were going through withdrawal symptoms. One guy, a girl too, jumped into the swimming pool and tried to commit suicide. Some Vietnam veteran-era guy jumped in and saved them.
Well, how did he bring them down?
Man, it wasn't easy. He gave them a hit of lysergic acid diethylamide and told them to imagine they were on their iPhones watching a craft beer video.
Oh, this sounds horrific!
I got elected president of the millennials.
How did that happen?
Pretty much everybody knew me. I'd been doing all those phone sex calls.
They thought they knew you. We all know your descriptions are not always accurate. Anyway, what did you accomplish as the president of the Millenials?
That's a tough one.
Well, tell us anyway.
I don't want you to think it was all kumbaya, peace, and love between the baby boomers and the millennials.
Well, thanks for throwing a downer in this intergenerational tale.
Before the dysentery outbreak, besides the pot, there was something else both groups wanted.
Phone sex!
That too, but I was thinking of the coffee coroner's office.
I've seen some intergenerational same zone of space stuff at some coffee places.
This guy orders an oat milk.
I shudder to ask.
Then he found out if he was going to take it back to his room, it couldn't be in a glass. It had to be in a paper cup. He started hyperventilating, holding up the whole line over his $9.95 oat milk frassopoopoo.
Now, this sounds dreadful. I think we've all been in toxic environments like this before.
There was a riot.
This sounds like a cruise out of hell.
You should have been there. The millennials were pulling on the elder hipsters' beards. The baby boomers were using their Swiss Army knives to cut off the millennials' beards, yelling at them that they didn't stand for anything. See this?
Gosh, I didn't see that before. I mean, you've got a big black and blue mark on your forehead.
I got pelted with a half-gallon bottle of almond milk.
You got into this fray?
The captain sent me in there to do phone sex calls. He thought I could calm the place down. No pot for the baby boomers, an extra long time out of their cabins, and sunlight for the millennials. I don't know. Maybe my sister Reverb could have done it. Why are we only 6 years apart, but I'm in the dying profession of landline phone sex operating, and she's all groovy tooling around being an ASMR whisper porn legend. I know, it's because we're not really related.
It's getting late. We better start cleaning this place up. I'm sorry to hear about your cruise ship disaster thing.
Well, thanks for listening to my employment problem. What do you want to do with these boxes?
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of Amazon deliveries lately, New drywall tools for the $75 4x8 boards we're installing in the new studio I'm building. But Cindy, I don't know what these boxes are.
I could open them.
Yeah, that might help.
Oh, actually, I just got my nails done. Do you have something to open them with?
Oh, yeah, I've got a construction knife in my pocket. I'll do it. That's odd. This box says don't open with a knife.
Oh, gosh, these are heavy boxes.
Oh, maybe it's Westpac drywall mud. Those 3.5 gallon boxes, they're pretty heavy. They don't want me to perforate the package, dry it out. I don't know why this would have been delivered to this studio, though.
If you could lift these boxes, that would be great. They're pretty heavy.
Okay. I don't want to. I got one open. Ah!
Oh!
What the hell?
Why is somebody shipping you genitals?
Oh, it's probably Remus Helms. It could be an early St. Patrick's Day gift.
I must say, this is in very poor taste.
I agree.
How many of them are there?
What I can tell, I'm not going to move any of them. It's probably 4 master betas, 14A, and a dozen or so master betas, 14B.
Oh, just send them back. Send them back.
Yeah, I'm not moving these things.
Well, you can't just leave them in here. There's another show after this. The show host will be horrified.
Let's just get out of here and not tell anyone about what we found in these boxes. Oh, this is gross. Guys, I gotta get back to the office. If you want to call me about a real workplace problem, call me in normal business hours, 9 o'clock to 6:30 at 877-525-0700. If your boss just gave you genitals in a box, hey, that's sexual harassment. You can call me at 877-525-0700. I'll sue for it. 877-525-0700 if you want to sue your employer for employment discrimination. I really am a real workplace lawyer, licensed in 4 states, and I don't know what I'm going to do about these boxes. This is weird, but I think this is not the end of his show, so stay tuned to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KABC, and we'll continue on with Cindy D, the most famous English-speaking landline phone sex operator in the world.
Telephone operator, you're my hour simulator.
Hi-ho, it's home from work we go. Hi-ho, 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 hi-ho.
Talk Radio 790 KBC. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. And before we broke, we just opened up two boxes of genitals.
Oh, hi, Cindy. I didn't know you were here.
What are you doing here, Dr. D?
I think there might have been a delivery mistake.
To put it mildly, somebody shipped me nearly 2 dozens of bioengineered genitals in this box, and we haven't even opened up the other one.
I wanted you to tell me what you thought of the new texture we're trying out.
Mom, you can't go around shipping lawyers' prototype genitals.
Yeah, I'm a labor lawyer.
Those are going to be used in the sex industry. I'm pretty sure there's a labor law issue in there. I want to see if you can get an injunction and prevent them from going out to the market.
Well, last time someone asked me to enjoin a genital matter...
It was Remus Helms in 1994.
I represent people, not bioengineered parts.
Mom, this is very embarrassing. You can't be sending genitals over to my lawyer to see if he approves.
I most certainly don't approve.
I'm at my wit's end. I think it's time I look for another job.
Well, Dr. D, are there ever openings, opportunities for scientists? Who knows the formula for creating a bioengineered genital?
Oh, there are so many opportunities out there. So many chances for a woman like me to make a genital grow from liquids and vitamins into a beautiful, healthy species.
Maybe your efforts would be better spent going out for one of those opportunities.
Mr. Gerber, the ethics of science require my action.
What are you thinking?
Mom, could you get these things out of here? They're too gross.
Yeah.
They seem like they've outgrown their shipping boxes and somebody has to stuff them back in.
How long have those been sitting around here anyway, Mr. Gerber? I thought somebody would have opened the boxes by now.
I only come here some days. They leave my deliveries for me. I guess these could have been here since Monday.
Since Monday? If a lady sends you something like this, you're supposed to be more appreciative.
Well, says who?
On the other hand, you can plainly see the dilemma I'm in.
Well, you are in a dilemma, but it isn't plain and it isn't normal.
If those parts arrived on Monday, what time do you think?
Well, probably around lunchtime. That's when UPS comes here.
So around noon on Monday until now. That's around 154 hours of growth.
They're still growing?
Didn't you see the IVs in them?
Is it legal to ship genitals with IVs in them?
Well, not through the Postal Service.
What's going on here? This is absolute lunacy.
It's a simple function of nutrients. They're still growing.
Well, how long? Bad choice of words. For how long do these grow?
This is why I want you to get an injunction. They can grow forever.
No, this can't be like the new ever-growing Berber toupee that's actually nylon and grows and grows and grows and has to be tampooned 14 times a day to trim it so it doesn't take over the world with its growth in a year's time.
Mom, there has to be a way to stop all of this genital growth.
I'm afraid there isn't.
How come we never heard about this issue until now? I mean, those things have been in commerce since last summer.
Yeah, Mom, if they kept growing, that not very accurate sex robot of me, the men wouldn't have got stuck.
A lot of times potential clients come to me with issues that are really more regulatory. I think, Dr. D, that you need to go to the FDA or something like that.
Mr. Gerber, these aren't food.
You're right!
Maybe there's a PTA somewhere where they're up on common decency. They could shut the lab down.
There must be some sort of regulation for this particular industry.
Oh, actually, I heard Remus Helms is working with Governor Newsom on a new genital purity law.
I have not heard anything about this.
Sure, with both houses in California being Democrat, I've heard it's a fist in.
Huh?
The law isn't about genetic purity. It just sets forth certain minimum standards on all things related to genitals.
Oh. In other words, it has a subsection for proper genetic genital engineering and maybe a criminal section for sexual battery.
From what I've read, it's a rather comprehensive law.
How long is it?
In its present form, it's 1,114 pages. They're hoping to reduce its size to 114 pages.
Well, it's about time we get better laws on genitals around here.
Tell me about it. With them being infringed and held hostage like the soldiers.
Yeah.
Many episodes late last year. And now this thing where they keep growing? I must say, it's due time something is done to regulate them.
Oh, I guess if Bernie wins, we can get some much needed national regulation on genitals.
Most definitely.
Should we just wait for the election? See how this new statute pans out in California and hope it's the role model for a national statute.
I'm afraid things can't wait.
Oh, Dr. D, what are you going to do?
Don't do anything drastic, Mom. You might get fired.
Hey, Dr. D, can you take these boxes with you?
I would have thought you'd like to leave them here. Give a gift to the sound engineer, the call taker.
No!
You've got enough here to pass out to the entire office staff.
Oh, definitely not. Well, Dr. D, unfortunately, I don't have a license to transport genitals.
We covered that the last time we met on episode 98. I heard it on the Karl Gerber with a K channel on YouTube when I was driving over here in the Prius. I must say, it sounded good. I was listening so intently, I almost got into an accident with one of those Nissan Cubes with all the wrappings on the side. I think it was one of Nuzuki's Nuru Masseuse drivers on a Nuru Massage app call.
I was wondering why your arms were all bruised up.
I sort of spun out, Cindy. I guess you're supposed to keep the wheel straight if you start skidding.
What?
Mom, this is horrible. Are you okay?
I am okay. It wouldn't have been so bad if a case of Nuru Massage oil didn't fall out of the back window.
Well, Dr. D, luckily, you're okay.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. I think something fell out of my window, too.
What are you going to do?
I'm going back to the intersection of Sepulveda and Pico to see if the box is still there. Dr. Chu said I could give you a gift, but the rest of the product, we can't afford to be losing 14 healthy units.
You mean to tell us there's a box of genitals in the middle of the intersection of Sepulveda and Pico?
Oh, Mr. Gerber, you're on the air. Now everybody's going to go there looking for them.
Well, I'm not.
I think we're stuck here. I just heard the news guys say there's a SIG alert at Pico and Sepulveda.
Oh my God, I mean, this is fake news after all, but have you ever heard anything this strange? A doctor genetically engineering genitals that grow and grow and grow, and they're treating them just like pieces of meat, and they're putting them on deli trays, and they're shipping them in the same kind of boxes that Amazon uses. What is this world coming to? I tell you, and what this world is coming to is more and more problems, more labor abuses that, that's just, more cases for us employment lawyers because all these newfangled gig economy things and all that. And, I'm hoping you give me a call at the office during normal business hours between 9 o'clock and 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, because I really am an employee lawyer, and I can be reached at 877-525-0700 for a real case of sexual harassment. Where do you think I get the material to write these scripts? Some of this comes out of real cases. Yeah. So if you were fired from your job and you were fired for complaining about something illegal or maybe a protected medical condition or your age or complaining about sexual harassment, that's what we do. 877-525-0700. 877-525-0700 for the employee lawyer who's going to make the other side's witnesses sound as loony as the guests I have on this show. And that's really true. I really will do that when they start to lie, and they'll start sounding like people that had a little bit of freight falling out of their window in that Prius. So I would encourage you to tune in to Karl Gerber with the K channel on YouTube. This has been episode 99 of this show, if you can believe that. It's heard on the station every week. And then you also can go to workplacelawyer.org. So tune in next week, Saturday at 7 o'clock for our normal time, or go to the Karl Gerber with the K channel and listen up. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KABC. And I hope you have a wonderful week of workplace abuse. And if you did, I think you know where to call. See you next week, and thanks for listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show, Talk Radio 790 KABC.